Welcome to this episode of Abby Normal Garage. We're up here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to witness a rare and historic moment, the departure of the SS United States. To get the best view possible, we decided to take our 14-foot skiff. We had a little bit of trouble trying to find a boat ramp. We ended up launching at the Commodore Barry Bridge, 15 miles downstream, and motoring upstream to get the perfect vantage point. Right now we're watching some aerial footage we took of them pulling the ship out of Pier 80, moving it out into the Rhine River, getting ready to push it downstream, under the Walt Whitman Bridge, and eventually out to the ocean. And now I'll transition into a brief historical write-up of the ship while we watch it get pulled out the slip. Few ships symbolize innovation and dominance on the seas, quite like the SS United States. She was designed by renowned naval architecture firm Gibbs & Cox and the brainchild of legendary naval architect William Francis Gibbs. Built in Dry Dock Number 10 at Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company in Virginia, she was a true marvel of engineering. Measuring 990 feet long and 101 feet wide, she was constructed using a large amount of lightweight aluminum in the superstructure to maximize speed while maintaining strength. Her power came from 8 Babbitt and Wilcox boilers feeding 4 massive steam turbines, producing an astonishing 240,000 shaft horsepower, more power than most battleships of the time. This allowed her to reach speeds of over 38 knots, though some believe she was even faster in classified Navy trials. Costing over $79 million, an enormous sum in 1952, she was built to double as a high-speed troop transport if needed, with the ability to carry 14,000 soldiers in times of war. Operated by United States Lines, she was the pride of the American merchant fleet. But she wasn't just fast, she was luxurious as well. Carrying celebrities, dignitaries, and everyday travelers across the Atlantic, she set a new standard for elegance at sea. On her maiden voyage, she shattered the transatlantic speed record, crossing from New York to England in just 3 days, 10 hours, and 40 minutes, earning the coveted Blue Ribbon, a title she still holds today. She was, and still is, the fastest ocean liner ever built. But despite her unmatched speed and prestige, the rise of air travel quickly made ocean liners obsolete. By 1969, she was taken out of service. Over the decades, she changed hands multiple times, narrowly escaping scrapping while sitting in limbo. For nearly 30 years, she has remained here in Philadelphia, a fading monument to an era long past. Now, after decades of uncertainty, it is once again on the move. Watching her depart from Pier 80 is a rare and historic moment, one filled with both nostalgia and questions about what the future holds for this legendary ship. Unfortunately, while this historic moment was going on, we were dealing with a cold weather-related casualty on board. I wish Chris Russo was here to report on it. Let's go live right now with 28-degree temperatures on board our boat. We're out here watching the send-off of the SS United States. We've already had a casualty, however. Our throttle cable is either completely frozen or something broke, but it won't move at all. So we got this paddle strapped to the throttle advance. We're going to go ahead and get back to the ramp like this. Fortunately, we don't have to go fast because the ship's only going to be moving at 5 knots or so. Anyway, that's what we're doing. Damn carburetor ice again. Jesus. It's bad enough you broke the throttle. Now we're dealing with carburetor ice too. That's fantastic. I think this guy's more daring than I am. Well, we've followed along for about 5 miles at this point. So we're going to go ahead and let this motor stretch its legs, and we'll catch you at the Commodore Barry Bridge. And hopefully that paddle will hang on. We shall see. Well, that was quite interesting, trying to pull the paddle and steer the boat and hold the camera at the same time, but we got here. Here we are at the Commodore Barry Bridge as the ship goes under. Well, here we are at probably the hardest point in this video. I came up with some words to describe what this ship means to me and some history, so let's see if we can get through this without getting emotional. Seeing this moment in person was both an incredible privilege and an emotional experience. To follow along for the beginning of her journey was something I'll never forget, but as we moved with her, it felt less like an exciting send-off and more like a funeral procession for a close friend. A friend who had been neglected for too long, left to fade away despite all efforts to save her. For me, this ship has always been personal. My connection starts with my dad. In the late 80s and early 90s, when she was laid up in Newport News, he was part of a group of dedicated caretakers who worked tirelessly to keep her in the best shape they could. When asked if he had anything he wanted to say about the Big U, his response was simple: "I had the fun of my life being on the Big U. Nothing ever came close." And I grew up hearing the stories. The ship wasn't just something they maintained, it was something they brought back to life, even if only in small ways. They restored lighting by replacing bulbs and bypassing cut wiring, got some of the elevators working again, and even managed to fire up the forward emergency diesel generator. They kept the lines tight, bilges dry, they kept drainage leaks under control, and so much more. They didn't just work on her, she became a part of their lives. They endured blistering summers and freezing winters, taking pride in keeping her from falling into complete ruin. They even survived numerous Navy SEAL training exercises on board, as the ship provided an ideal environment for their operations. One Christmas, the team even lit her up so that she could shine one more time. In 1992, when the ship was sold to Mamera Marine Incorporated, the team helped prepare her for her transatlantic tow to Turkey. My father even flew over to meet her when she arrived in the Sea of Mamera. My dad was sent over due to his intense technical knowledge of the ship and the emergency diesel generator that they planned to use to lower the anchor. However, they did not ship the cooling pumps over to run it, so the anchor was free fell. It wasn't until 1996, when the ship came back to Philly, that he was united with her again. Unfortunately, by the time I was old enough to step on board, the interiors were stripped to the bulkheads, but I still had the privilege of working alongside my father on board this ship. Another fond memory on board the ship is when I climbed to the top of the forward funnel and watched the sunset from above. Now that her fate is sealed, the plan is to tow her to Mobile, Alabama, where she will be prepared to become an artificial reef. It's honestly a national disgrace to let such an icon of the seas be discarded like this. In closing, and with a heavy heart, I say, fair winds, old friend. Hopefully we'll meet again in better times. So I'm over here doing a walk around of this boat after we got it back on the trailer. Now we broke some of these. There's a lot of damn ice. And for record, the deck's a solid sheet of ice. This seat's a solid sheet of ice. The floor's got ice on it. The hull has ice on it and everything. The back portion of the boat where we took on some water, it's a solid sheet of ice. Back here by the jack plate, solid sheet of ice. This side, icicles on the motor, ice, ice. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at the bow light. That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and show them our colors. They're a little frozen. Here's the Embrace the Suck portion of our program. We're coming back from the Commodore Barry Bridge. We're over here in Delaware right now, and there's at least an inch of snow on the ground. Yeah, just for reference, we got 150 some miles to my mom's house, so we're gonna be going 25 for a while. Fortunately, we brought the Jeep, so we're in the right vehicle for it. So anyway, if y'all enjoyed this little episode, feel free to like the video, share it with any of your friends that are into vintage ocean liners or iced up boats or anything like that. Leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And we'll see you